independents, and even fellow Republicans, if you are here, please join me in welcoming to the stage President William Jefferson Clinton.
Hello, Goldsboro. Hello. I'm having a good time on the bus. I've got your congressman, former Governor Jim Hunt, my friend of almost 40 years. I want to thank everybody here who's working for Hillary. I want to urge you to vote early. If you haven't, you can through the 5th. North Carolina fought back when they tried to restrict your voting rights, and I'm very proud of you, and you should take advantage of it. Look, I'll be brief. I know everybody wants to get to the barbecue. I think it'd be fair to say that this has been a somewhat unusual election, wouldn't you? I mean, go figure. I noticed just in the last few days in Arizona, a traditionally Republican state, some of the polls show Hillary ahead, and the biggest newspaper has been in business 126 years, has never endorsed, ever once, a Democrat until they endorsed her in this election. Woo! In Ohio, Cleveland, and Columbus, Ohio, have huge Republican newspapers. They haven't endorsed a Democrat in 100 years, but they endorsed Hillary this year. Woo! In Texas, the biggest Republican paper in the state, the Dallas Morning News, has not endorsed a Democrat in 75 years. They endorsed Hillary this year.
Hell yes!
And the response is, well, what do you expect? The whole system's rigged against us. Now, what caused all this? Part of it is, to be fair, when we had that financial crash in 2008, it had a very long tail. There are still Americans living on the same incomes they were living on the last day I was president, almost 16 years ago. And that builds a lot of road rage because you have too many Americans, without regard to race or religion or anything else, looking in the mirror every day and saying, wow, tomorrow's going to be just like yesterday. I can't change it. So we'll just take that as a given. And you have these two vastly different campaigns that are asking you basically to define what it means to be an American in the 21st century. One says things aren't as good as they ought to be. America's going downhill quick. I am the receptacle and the voice for your anger, for your resentment, and I am going to make America great again. Now, I'm a white Southerner, folks, of a certain age. I know exactly what that means. I mean, I was born at night, but last night. I know what it means. It means, first, I'll give you the economy you had 50 years ago. That's like me at 70 saying, I'd like to be 20 again. I would, actually. But I wouldn't vote for somebody who promised to make me 20 again, because that's not going to happen. And somebody saying, I'll give you the society you had 50 years ago, that's a bad idea. I'll move you back up on the social totem pole at someone else's expense. That's a terrible idea. Because 50 years ago wasn't so good for African Americans, for Hispanics, for first generation immigrants, for people of minority religions of all kinds. One reason so many Mormons who always vote Republican are considering voting for Hillary, even in Republican Utah, is that they know what it's like to be a member of an oppressed religion, and they understand that we cannot hope to defeat radical, episodic terrorism in America without the help of our American Muslims who love America, love freedom, hate terror, and many of them serve in our military. We need to have them helping us, not being isolated. So, you got a choice. One candidate offers anger, the other offers answers. One offers resentment, the other offers empowerment. One offers constant conflict in which you're promised victory. The other says cooperation works better in the world we're living in. Wherever people are working together across the lines that divide them, good things are happening. Wherever you just got constant conflict, you may win an election or two, but nothing good ever happens. One offers walls, the other offers bridges. We got to choose. We're going to define what it means to have a more perfect union in the 21st century. And Hillary ought to be president because she got the best plan for growing the economy together, the best plan for living together, the best plan for keeping America safe and strong enough so we can grow our economy and lead the world away from all this foolishness that is tearing up our children's future. It is not complicated. Let's just talk about, this election has been remarkably devoid in these debates and other things of, well, what are you actually going to do for me? How's this going to change my life? First of all, for all of our challenges, America is doing better than any other big economy in the world. That is, we just had our 79th month of job growth. Even when I was president and we all rose together for the first time in 50 years, right? Everybody rose together. Only time in 50 years. Even then, you didn't have 79 months where you had more jobs every month than the month before. So 5 years from now, even his harshest critics will start giving President Obama better marks for his economic work. Secondly, we have the youngest, most diverse workforce in the world, and we dare not mess it up. Thirdly, we rank first or second in the world in our ability to generate electricity from the sun, the wind, and other clean sources, so we can move away from climate change and create millions of jobs doing it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Fourthly, we still got the best tech sector, the best higher education sector. We just got to make college affordable and debt repayable. And finally, we can unleash small businesses like no country on earth if we do it right.
That's right.
So all these people writing America's epitaph, if you don't rise up and smack somebody upside the head that looks different or thinks different than you, are wrong. If I were 20 again and I got one of those little magic lanterns, and a genie comes out, says you can live wherever you want to live 40 years from now, but you got to decide right this second, I would pick the United States in a heartbeat. But we got to do it right.
Yes. Yes.
One of the things that I have respected about Hillary's campaign is that she's actually said, look at what we can do. Even a man who served as Senator John McCain's economic advisor back when he and President Obama ran against each other, no big fan of hers, analyzed her infrastructure plan for more investment in roads, bridges, ports, airports, and in making us more resilient against climate change, and in making every small town and rural area part of a national network of affordable rapid broadband so our kids can all get on the internet and people can start businesses everywhere in America, and would take up all the rusty water pipes in America, not just those in Flint, Michigan, and give all our children a healthy future. That man, Mark Zandi, said that if her plan were enacted, it would create 10.5 million jobs, And if her opponent's plan to go back to trickle-down economics and cut taxes for millionaires and billionaires were enacted, it would explode the national debt and cost us 3.5 million jobs. So the next time one of those nice people asks you, what have you got to lose? Start with 14 million jobs. I don't think I'll give them away. I'm for Hillary for president. And
Tell the truth.
the second thing we got to do is to loosen up all this money that's frozen that ought to be available for small business loans. Now, I like the bill President Obama signed that will keep Wall Street from wrecking Main Street. It's not supposed to apply to community banks and small business lending, but it does. And we need to stop that. She's the only person that's offered a plan to do just that. The only person that's offered a plan to put extra emphasis on small towns and rural areas. Congressman Butterfield and I just got off the phone with Congressman Jim Clyburn, who's been sponsoring a bill for years that has Republican support to give more development aid to small towns and rural areas that have had high unemployment and no new investment in years. Hillary's the only candidate you can vote for who says, I don't want to raise business taxes on everybody. I want to cut business taxes. If they will invest in places that have been left out and left behind, give them a big tax cut to do it, because those people need the jobs and we need a better future. We got to do this together. Same thing is true about living together. We need to expand voting rights, not restrict them.
Right. Yeah.
We need to bridge racial divides and religious divides, not make them bigger. You may make a momentary vote out of things like this bill that's caused so much turmoil in the governor's race here, and I hope you elect the Attorney General governor. He'll do a great job, and Deborah Walsh, senator. But you'll build when people work together. And so just think about that. One of the most unheralded and underrated members of the president's cabinet is Tom Vilsack, the former governor of Iowa, who's the Secretary of Agriculture. He and Hillary have been working all around the world to help small farmers feed their people. But he also aggregated a lot of money in the agriculture department, and the agriculture department has created 250,000 new jobs in towns just like this one, all over America. And Hillary has promised to put billions behind doing that everywhere. You need a president who understands that America does not stop at the city limits of every place in America with 1 million or more people. Most of us live somewhere else, and we deserve to have a good future. And let's talk about education. Jim Hunt is one of the greatest education governors in the last 100 years in America. And we were talking. Her position is simple. The quality of education you get should start with universal preschool and should not depend on what zip code you live in. If you look at all the research instead of the rhetoric, the most important thing is, do you have a good teacher? Just last year, this amazing report came out that said that if a child has just one really great teacher, that teacher can raise the child's income 10% a year, every year, for the entire working life of the young person. So Hillary says, let's spend more of the limited federal education dollars, helping teachers be better teachers, helping principals be better principals, and helping parents play a constructive role in the schools and their children's education. She and Bernie Sanders reached agreement on how to get universal access to higher education. First of all, redignify skills training. There's a lot of people could get very high-paying jobs without a 4-year college degree if we redignified skills training and made it available to everybody. Second, make community college tuition free. Thirdly, make 4-year state college tuition free for every family with an income of $125,000 or less, and debt-free graduation for all other young people wherever they're at school. And finally, let people pay back their college loans in a way that's affordable, that will help the economy instead of derail their lives for years. Here's how it would work. How many of you know somebody with college debt? Okay, let's start with the obvious fact that a college loan is the only loan in America you cannot refinance when interest rates go down. I tell this story at every stop. I have a lady I do business with and have for over 10 years, and I always go to her store when I want to buy some jeans. So a few months ago, I went to buy a new pair of jeans. And I knew she had a son who just finished at one of our state colleges in New York, in this little town where we live. I said, "How's your son doing?" He said, "Great. He made good grades. He's going to get a good job." "Well, does he have any college debt?" "Quite a bit," she said. "What's the interest rate?" 9%. I said, "Do you have a mortgage?" She said, "Sure." "Did you refinance?" "Of course I did." "What's your interest rate?" "Under 4%. Now, our country is supposed to be in the future business. There is something wrong with sending our young people out into the world burdened with a college debt at an interest rate more than twice as high as their parents' mortgage. It's not right. So under Hillary's plan, everybody could refinance, and overnight it would save 20 million young Americans an average of more than $2,000 each. And the ones that owe more would save a lot more. Then everybody could pay the debt back as a fixed monthly percentage of their income. And even if they borrowed $200,000 to go to medical school, they never had to pay more than 10% of their after-tax income. That's a very big deal. And here's the final thing that's good. If they want to start a small business and they still have college debt, the obligation to repay the college debt would be stopped for 3 years while they got the business up and going. This could revolutionize the future for millions and millions of young Americans and communities all over the country, so we can all be stronger together. That's the kind of thing that stronger together means. Same thing's true in healthcare. There's a story today that says average insurance rates are going to go up 22%, but people in the healthcare plan will get subsidies to offset most of the increase. So we got all these people from Hillary's opponent on down saying, "See, it's a terrible thing that health care bill did. Repeal it, repeal it, repeal it." My answer is that would be a very bad idea.
Yep.
For the following reasons. If you go back to the way it used to be, the rates would be going up even more and nobody would help you with subsidies. More than 20 million Americans would lose their insurance. 100% of us would be worse off, because today you can't deny somebody insurance because of a pre-existing condition, and we don't want to go back to the time when you could.
Insurance companies in charge.
Millions of young people would be worse off, because today, if your family's got a policy, you could stay on it till you're 26. I don't think we ought to repeal it. We ought to fix it. And it's not that hard to fix. Who's having the most trouble with high premiums, high co-pays, high deductibles, and high drug prices? All you got to do is have the government bargain for lower drug prices that are bought in bulk. Then people over 55 ought to be able to buy into Medicare at an affordable price. Then we need to recognize who's in the most trouble. People that make just a little too much money to get the subsidies, and small businesses that earn a little too much money to get the subsidies. That is fairly easy to fix. They need to have access to a public option that would have competition and insurance that gave them decent coverage. I know one of those people who does carpentry work for me. And if you saw him, you would swear he was for somebody other than Hillary. He's covered in tattoos. He makes motorcycles for a living. He works 60 hours a week, and he pays the people that work for him so well that they can't get subsidies either. It's not fair to punish those people. We need to help people like that. They're making America better. But the answer is not to repeal the law. The answer is to fix it. So I could go through every issue in this campaign like this, and you'd be screaming for your barbecue. But you get the idea. This is a historic election. You don't want to miss out on this election. 60% of North Carolinians voted early last time. You went through the hurricane, and I feel terrible for you. But that's a reason to vote, not a reason not to vote.
Yep.
Governor Hunt was reminding me that after Hurricane Floyd, I came down here, and he said, he introduced me, and he said he produced over 20 million jobs and 3 budget surpluses and a couple of $1 billion for Hurricane Floyd.
All right.
And to me, that's what government's supposed to do, to create opportunities and the environment so that people can make the most of their own lives. Everybody's got some good reason to resent something. It's much better to be empowered to change your future. Everybody's angry about something for good reason. Much better to have answers to make the anger go away. It's easy to be turned into us and them and to blame our problems on somebody that doesn't look like us or worship like